Interesting to see how a crew can really develop from the heats into the semis and into the finals. Well, the next race we have is the final of the men's K4 500 metres. Johnny, you raced K4 last year. What does it feel like? What do you like about racing K4?
Not much. no, I love racing K4 and the 500 metres is great, but it is painful. This is an event, it's a sprint. You're really going flat out from early on, but then you're being expected to hold that for well over a minute. The guys will be happy that it's relatively fast conditions, so the pain will be over a little bit quicker than it can be if the wind was going the other way. But yeah, it's something that everyone will be approaching with trepidation because they know how much it's going to hurt down the last 100 metres.
Well, men's K4 500 metres will be introduced into the Olympic programme in Tokyo 2020, and it's replacing the K4 1000 metres. So spectators are getting a chance to see a more fast, more furious, perhaps closer racing than you would do over 1,000 metres, Johnny.
Yes, it will be. It's a sprint. The top crews are all going to be within fractions of a second of each other, so it's going to be a great addition to the Olympic programme. It's an event I'm really excited about watching.
Well, there you have France in lane 5. We saw the French women's crew just take silver just a moment ago. That's Beaumont, Berger, Le Floc de Courchemont and Muget of France.
And that's a really interesting crew with Beaumont going in the front of that. Olympic medalist in the K1 200. He's now trying his hand, and he really has the ability to hold a strong pace for the full 500 metres.
And is that where a lot of squads are recruiting their K4 500 metre paddlers from the 200 metre events?
You see Marc de Jong there as well, former world champion K1 200 in the front of that Canadian boat. We've had, in the Serbian crew, we've got Dragoslav Ljejic coming over from K1 200 racing here, and then the K2 200 paddler Nebojša Grujic. He's also there in the Serbian boat, so they've got a lot of speed in that boat now.
Well, the crew to watch today will be Germany's Rentschmidt, Liebscher, Rauer and Lemke, the reigning world champions, last year's European silver medalists and the reigning Olympic champions over K4000, and the holders of the current world's best time over 500 metres. So Germany in lane 6 in the pink boat, potentially the favourites for this race.
Yes, they're absolutely the favourites for this race and for the whole year. So if anyone can get close, that's going to make things really interesting. But they really know what they're doing. Off to a smooth start, the Germans there. Oh no, we're coming back with a false start.
Well, that's the first false start we've seen in the A finals this weekend.
It is, and it's not easy to turn these K4s around. Be interesting to see who that was given to. The Germans certainly got out well. I didn't really notice that there was a particular false start from them, so we'll see who is pushing it and who's going to have to be a little bit more conservative the second time round.
So how would that affect you if you were the perpetrator of a false start? How could that affect an athlete or a crew mentally?
You're then going to have to be a little bit more conservative. Yeah, it's the Lithuanians. They are fast starters, but it wouldn't be unknown for them to have pushed the start before, so it looks like they'll get caught out for it this time. But they'll be calm and composed, and I'm sure they'll get it right the second time round. Yeah,
Lithuania in lane 9. You can see their paddles just going a little bit earlier than everybody else's. And how do you get yourself reset for yet another start? You've been on edge. This is your final. And now you've got to paddle around. You've got to keep on the ball and warmed up mentally, but also keep warmed up physically as well. How do you do that?
I mean, they'll get around as quickly as possible. The starter's going to be encouraging all the boats just to paddle around, to come straight back in. He won't want any messing around, so that keeps you warm. And to be honest, you're just doing the same thing again. Nothing's changed. It's just a few minutes later. So just stay calm. If you are the perpetrator, you do have to approach it a little bit differently the second time, in my opinion. If you really don't want the risk of getting yourself knocked out of the race with that second false start, which is what would disqualify you. I've been in that position. We got called for a false start and a full race rerun for the Olympic qualification in Milan 2015. So myself and Liam, we had to be extremely, cool-headed on the start line the second time. We had to just make sure the bucket dropped, and then we went. So there was no chance of us getting ruled out of that Olympic qualification. this race doesn't have quite so much on the line, but every race counts. All these crews are going to want to be pushing down and getting a clean start now. So hopefully, in a second when they get into the buckets, we'll get the race underway again.
That's lane 1. That's Japan's Keiji Mizumoto, Yusuke Miyata, Momotaro Matsushita, and Hiroki Fujishima.
This is a crew that's coached by my old coach, Alex Nikonov. He's transitioned over to Japan now and seems to be doing really good things with them already. So they'll be really happy to be in this final, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do.
So that's lane 4. That's Belarus, the reigning European champions in K4000.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how they transition to the K4 500. And also keep an eye on the French crew as well in lane 5.
Yep, they're going to be interesting with Beaumont in the front, but then the interesting thing with the Belarusians is that we don't have Pyatroshenko in the front of this crew. He's got such a long history of stroking crew boats to Olympic medals, of course. 200, 500 and 1000, one of the only athletes, if not the only, to do that. But nowadays he's taking a bit of a back seat, and then we've got some younger paddlers stroking the boat, but they clearly know what they're doing and have learned from a very good athlete. So they're coming up into the buckets now for the second go at it.
ICF Canoe Sprint and Paracanoe World Cup, Poznan Monta 29.
And they're underway smoothly this time, I think.
Well, they called them through very quickly there. I think the athletes have something to say about that, but the French, they were on the ball, so they're getting a flyer at the start, but the Germans are going to have to work to overtake them now.
Yeah, French in the lead there. You can see how high the stroke rate is in this K4 500 metres. The idea what roughly the stroke rate would be, roughly for a K4 500?
It'll go up to over 160, 170 for a period. There'll be 27 kilometres an hour, but then the trick is to relax, and that's where the Germans have it, is they can relax but still keep the boat speed and last all the way to the end. So they make their rate look a lot slower than it really is. Really long strokes. You see that Rentschmidt's setting there, and the most experienced man you could hope to have in your second seat, Ronald Rauer, is just backing him up.
Well, there you go, a really big battle going on in those two centre lanes. France in lane 5, Germany in lane 6. Germany now have taken the lead as they go through the 200-metre mark. Belarus also pushing for the medals now. Really close racing with Serbia up there as well. Our France coming back on Germany. Really difficult to separate these two crews now. Germany just have their noses in the lead ahead of France as they come into the closing stages of the race. Have France got anything left? Germany are stretching out, and it will be the Germans who hold on to take the gold. France take the silver, but it was Portugal, it looked like, who crossed the line to take the bronze.
Yeah, they'll be absolutely delighted with that fantastic performance. It looked like Beaumont could hardly keep his hands off his deck towards the finish there. He'd gone out so hard, put it all on the line, and he's rewarded with the silver medal. But the ones that really rose to the occasion, despite, I'd say really missing the start of the Germans there, you can see they're perhaps a bit disappointed with how it went, but in a minute, when they realise that they've still won it, I'm sure they'll be a lot happier, and they'll be looking to improve the